Hello, everyone. Welcome to our channel. In this unique story series, we blend the enchanting world of fairy tales with the timeless wisdom of fables. This episode is part 2 of a prequel series to the story of Little Red Cap. Our protagonists are still the wolf and his mentor. A brief explanation of this story will be provided at the end of this episode. Now, let's get started.
In the previous story, Reynard, the fox, had become the mentor of Wolvie, the young wolf. One day, they walked in the forest and came near a cave. Reynard stopped and asked, "Wolvie, do you remember the lion that fought with a bear over a large piece of meat?" Wolvie responded, "Of course, while they were exhausted, you stole the meat, and we shared the delicious feast." Reynard nodded, "Yes. The lion lives in this cave." After the fierce battle, the bear died, and the lion was left injured. He made his condition known to all, and many animals have come to visit him. Wolvie asked, "So, should we go inside to visit him to avoid his revenge?" Reynard shook his head, "No. From what I've observed, many animals went into the cave, but none of them came out." Wolvie's eyes widened in fear. "I understand now. This is a trap." Reynard affirmed, "Exactly. Remember, observe carefully. Sometimes, those who seek your sympathy can have ulterior motives." This was another valuable lesson that Wolvie learned from Reynard, a lesson about caution and discernment. Then they walked away from the cave and came upon another lion named Leo, who had just discovered a stray lamb. Sensing another lesson may be brewing, Reynard told Wolvie to quietly observe what would happen. They found that instead of attacking the helpless and innocent lamb immediately, Leo wanted to justify his actions. He accused the lamb, "Last year, you insulted me." The lamb, in a mournful tone, replied, "I wasn't even born then." Leo continued, "You feed in my pasture." The lamb responded, "I haven't tasted grass yet." Leo accused again, "You drink from my well." The lamb exclaimed, "I've never drunk water. I still feed on my mother's milk." Despite the lamb's refutations, Leo seized it, declaring, "I won't go hungry, even if you can refute all my accusations." Reynard turned to Wolvie and said, "Remember, power can justify any action. As you can see, a tyrant doesn't need any reason other than his own desires. Those in power will always find a reason for their actions, no matter how unjust they may be." Wolvie nodded and replied, "Okay, I have learned this lesson." One day, Leo approached Reynard with a proposal to form a hunting team. The team was composed of Leo, Reynard, Wolvie, and an ass. They had a successful hunt and caught a large quantity of game. They gathered in Leo's cave, then Leo asked the ass to divide the spoils. The ass, being fair and honest, made equal divisions, and modestly requested the others to make the first choice. But Leo was not satisfied with this division. In his anger, he killed the ass and added the dead body for sharing. Then, Leo turned to Wolvie and said, "Young guy, it seems you have a better understanding of fairness, you divide it." Reynard, aware that Wolvie might not know how to appease Leo and fearing for Wolvie's safety, quickly intervened and said, "Sir, Wolvie is still learning. Let me handle this." Knowing what had happened to the ass, Reynard piled all spoils into one large heap, then he took only a very small portion for himself and Wolvie. Leo, now in a good mood, praised Reynard, "This is a fair division. Who taught you to divide so wisely?" Reynard replied, "Sir, I learned it from the ass." "I'm glad you like it." After they left the cave, Reynard instructed Wolvie, "This is another lesson about power. Remember, in the forest, the rules of fairness often give way to the law of the jungle, which is based on power. Also, we have to learn from the misfortunes of others." Wolvie reflected on this, saying, "The lions are so cunning, powerful, and domineering. Their roars echo like thunder, and their claws are as sharp as knives. They are a formidable danger to us." Reynard nodded in agreement. Yes, lions pose a significant threat. However, there are other creatures that are just as dangerous, if not more so. Seeing the puzzled expression on Wolvie's face, Reynard elaborated, "Have you heard of the hunters? They are humans who invade our forest with their terrible and powerful tools. They are so selfish to seize and kill us without regard for our rights and feelings. They pose a big threat to all of us." Wolvie responded, "I have heard about hunters. I know they are dangerous, but I have not encountered them directly yet. Are there any other threats which I should be aware of?" Reynard answered, "Yes, there are the Red Caps. They are a type of goblin, known for their extreme evil and murderous tendencies. They are cunning, ruthless, mysterious, and unpredictable. The red color of their caps comes from the blood of their victims." Wolvie laughed, "Red caps? With all due respect, I think they are just old superstitions or fictional. I mean, goblins in the forest. They sound more like characters from stories. Maybe they just come from fairy tales meant to scare children into staying at home." Reynard looked at Wolvie, his gaze serious. "Wolvie," he began, "the forest is full of dangers. While lions and hunters are obviously domineering and dangerous, the redcaps are quite different. Their cunning, ruthlessness, and unpredictability make them a unique kind of threat. It is said that they may even have shape-shifting abilities. It's important not to dismiss advice and wisdom just because they seem unbelievable. In the forest, anything is possible. We should remain humble and cautious." Wolvie was still doubtful but curious. He asked, "So, there's no way to survive the Red Cap's hands, right?" Reynard said, "Not exactly. If you can't beat them, avoid them. It is fortunate that they have a distinctive feature of wearing red caps. So you should avoid anyone wearing such terrible caps. This is for your own good. Remember, avoid being too aggressive in your endeavors. Settling for less is always better than taking high risks, which may cost your life." Wolvie still had doubts, so he asked, "Actually, have you ever seen the red caps before?" Reynard thought for a moment and then said, "Perhaps. I am not sure because I have not tried to confirm whether they are really red caps or not. Remember, curiosity killed the cat, and nothing can bring it back. Don't take a high risk just to prove something." Wolvie thought Reynard was too long-winded, so he preferred not to continue arguing about this. He said, "All right, I understand." As the sun set and the forest grew quiet, Reynard and Wolvie returned home.
That brings us to the end of this episode. For your information, this story is inspired by Aesop's fables, including The Fox and the Sick Lion, The Wolf and the Lamb, The Lion, the Fox, and the Ass. Furthermore, the red cap goblin mentioned in this story is not our own invention. For example, in Wikipedia, the red cap, or Powrie, is referred to as a type of malevolent, murderous goblin found in border folklore. While this type of red cap doesn't have a direct connection to the original Little Red Cap story, we believe the incorporation of the goblin idea into the Little Red Cap prequel adds an interesting and creative change that enriches the narrative. In Charles Perrault's version of the story, Little Red Cap is not given any explicit advice by her mother. In contrast, the Brothers Grimm's version includes advices from her mother to behave nicely and stay on the path, but she is not specifically warned against talking to strangers. However, many interpretations of the story focus on Little Red Cap's behavior as mistakes or faults. Even without explicit advice from her mother, Little Red Cap's interaction with a stranger and disclosure of her destination are seen as naive and dangerous. These decisions lead to her and her grandmother's peril. Therefore, many people interpret the primary offender in the story as the little girl, and not the wolf. But, imagine a wolf meeting a little girl walking alone in a forest and seeing this as a perfect opportunity. Isn't it too good to be true? Doesn't it make sense for the wolf to take a lesson too? However, this kind of interpretation is often ignored. It is notable that our prequel story introduces a plot with a foreshadowing element. In this setting, the wolf, too, could be held accountable for his own danger if he chooses to ignore his mentor's advice about avoiding hunters and red caps. So, our plot helps to shift the focus away from the overwhelming and excessive sexual connotations that scholars often associate with the original story. The new plots in this prequel add a new layer of complexity and open up a multitude of themes and angles to explore, such as personal responsibility, self-discipline, wisdom, and survival in a complex world. This can provide a more balanced and comprehensive analysis of the story. If you enjoyed this story and the explanations, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. A text version is available for reading on our Patreon site. The site also provides links where you can view or download English versions of Grimm's fairy tales and Aesop's fables for free. Your support helps us create more content like this. Thank you for watching. See you next time.